Welcome back. Welcome to this podcast of open source maintainers and founders. Thank you for being here. I'm joined by Tim, Akshay, Namee, and Michael. And I'd love for each of you to introduce yourselves briefly so that our audience can get to know you. So if you can tell me your name, where are you traveling from to join us here at GitHub Universe, and the name of your company.
I'm Akshay. I'm traveling from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm the founder and CEO of Marimo.
Thank you.
I'm Michael Vandi, traveling from San Francisco as well, and I'm one of the maintainers of LangDrive.
Nice.
I'm Tim Beck. I'm currently based in Vancouver, so I'm not local, and I'm working on OpenWebUI.
Hi, I'm Namee Oberst. I'm traveling from the New York City area, and I'm the founder of LLMWare.
Amazing. Thank you all for accepting the invitation and being here with us today. I'm a big fan of the GitHub Accelerator program, such a crucial program for open source, for the future of open source, right? All of you are alumni of this program. All of you met, it sounds like you found a community, like you kind of get along, right?
We love each other.
Okay.
We're like family. We really are
Okay,
family.
it's
Yeah.
like, this is awkward, Andrea. We actually hate each other.
No.
Why did you bring that? Honestly, like to me, of any program that we ever launch, that's one of the key benefits, honestly, that you get to find your people, right? And founders, open source, people that truly care about this ecosystem and are looking to build things there. It's epic. So I want to start with you, Namee. Tell me what LLMWare is.
So LLMware has always been focused on deploying small language models to bring AI, and that means we can bring AI to a private cloud, on-prem, and now to edge devices.
That's amazing. When did you start working on this project?
So I started working on this project about 2 years ago. We launched in open source a year ago, and it came out of, it's a lot of experimentation with language models, and AI is a very rapidly evolving space. So we're really happy to now really fully grow and develop in open source.
What about you, Tim?
So yeah, OpenWebUI is a self-hostable, local, and super extensible, user-friendly web interface that you can use to interact with any type of LLMs or any AI models, really. And yeah, I started working on this a year ago. But yeah, I just started this project as a personal project of mine. But yeah, we grew into this big community, which I am super grateful for. So yeah, that's OpenWebUI.
What about you, Michael?
LangDrive is a fine-tuning library for LLMs. So what we're trying to do is to help every junior developer become an AI developer. We give them just one API that they can call to fine-tune LLMs to reduce the number of lines of code that they write to make it more maintainable. It was born out of the need to train LLMs for ourselves. We didn't find any easy way to do it, so we built a library for it. We started working on it around October 2023.
Marimo is an open source reactive notebook for Python. It aims to solve a lot of, it's reproducible with no hidden state. It's stored as a pure Python file, so you can execute it as a script or version it with Git. And you can also share your data exploration or sort of the tool that you've built as an interactive web app. And none of these things are possible in what's commonly used today, the Jupyter Notebook. This was also born out of sort of personal problems that I experienced during my PhD at Stanford, where I used Python notebooks every day, and I was frustrated by them every day. And my colleagues and co-lab mates were too. So 2 years ago, I started the company Marimo to focus on the open source project, and I got funding as a subcontract with a Department of Energy lab associated with Stanford. So it was co-developed with a bunch of scientists, and I sort of got feedback in real time with them for about a year and a half before we open sourced it.
So you built this because of your frustration with Jupyter Notebooks, and you saw the necessity for something different, right? What do you hope that it contributes back to the open source ecosystem?
Well, it is entirely
open source.
It's Apache 2.0. We depend on a few foundational libraries like Starlet and a few others, but we are quite lean on dependencies. I think the way that we leverage open source is mostly in the way that we integrate with a bunch of other open source packages. We are a place where other libraries for data manipulation or charting sort of become even more powerful. So for example, there's the well-known charting library called Altair. There's another one called Plotly. If you use them in a traditional notebook like Jupyter, you kind of get something that's kind of static. You get a plot, but you can't do anything with that plot. In Marimo, output an Altair plot, you can select data in the scatter plot and then get it back as a data frame. So in that way, we basically make these other libraries more powerful than they would be in other computing environments.
Michael, I want to ask you, of course, all of you are open source company founders and maintain open source projects. Why open source?
So I've always been building things and putting it on the internet. And as a developer, so I learned how to code when I was 14, and it would not have been possible outside of open source, because I'd look up videos on the internet, people putting their repositories about code examples on GitHub. And so my first instinct whenever I build something is I want everyone else in the world to see it. So that's why we went with open source. And because we built something that we think wasn't available widely in the industry, we thought other developers might benefit from it as well. So put it on the internet, on GitHub specifically, so that other people can use it, but also to get feedback from other developers.
What was the problem you were trying to solve with LangDrive?
Yeah, so we were trying to fine-tune emails for ourselves, my co-founder and I, and we couldn't find an easy way to do it. So fine-tune LLMs using emails. There were a couple of libraries. There was Hugging Face, AutoTrain, but then the thing is you have to get all of the data and then you transform it into input-output format, instruction-tuned format, and then you run some sort of Hugging Face's AutoTrain on it. But that's a whole process that takes hundreds of lines of code to do. And it's almost the exact same process when you're trying to fine-tune LLMs. So what we decided to do was we just packaged it in an API format. We put it in Docker containers, and then we maintained those APIs. So all we did was send us your data, we'll run the fine-tuning jobs for you, and then we'll send you a link to the Hugging Face fine-tuned model repository when it's done.
That's perfect. What about you, Tim? What was the problem that you were trying to solve with OpenWeb?
Well, a lot of problems, actually. For example, at the time, when I first started the project, there wasn't any good local user interface for interacting with local LLMs, basically. Or just any local AI models, really. So I was thinking to myself, yeah, I use these local LLMs daily, so I really want at least a similar experience to ChatGPT. Right. But I want it running all locally on my machine. So that's how the whole thing got started, really. But I guess it also kind of solves the problem of fine-tuning as well. Like Michael said, fine-tuning process is such a pain in the butt. You need to write so many lines of code. You need to collect all your data, do all sorts of pre-processing. And then you also need the resources to fine-tune it. So what I wanted to solve here was that I really want people to come together as a community within an open source community and then contribute their data set so that we can potentially later down the line build better AI models as well. So yeah, that's the goal we have for OpenWebUI and OpenWebUI community. And we're building towards it.
That's amazing. It sounds like community is a big part of
It's a huge part.
That's awesome. What about you, Namee? What was it that inspired you to create LLMWare?
So we started working on LLMWare because when we first looked at just my background is I'm a corporate lawyer. So just looking at the way that data was being transferred externally, I thought could be problematic for a lot of companies working in highly secure or data sensitive industries. So I want to solve for that. And so that always is how do you bring AI privately, securely, and locally? So we're really one of the I think the first projects to start really focusing on using small language models pretty exclusively. And we built a whole workflow and an end-to-end framework for dealing with that. And ultimately, that means now being able to run these models locally on your edge devices, like your AI PCs. So we wanted to bring that whole experience for actually more safety, security, cost efficiency reasons. And also in AI, so much of that exciting work is happening in open source. So, everybody really benefits from being in open source. We all learn from each other and then we give back and then, we benefit. So I think it's a really great symbiotic relationship in the whole community for open source in generative AI.
Your problem is a problem that is, obviously it's a big problem, but there are such highly regulated industries. I can only imagine. And I love the fact that you're building this in open source because for a long time, people thought of open source as nothing that, it wouldn't be, for one, secure and it wouldn't have application in an enterprise setting. And now we live in the world, Thomas said yesterday, open source won. This is the way, right?
Absolutely.
And you building this solution, starting open source first, and the intention is to solve a problem that is in a highly regulated space. That's incredible.
What you have. And it's so important for people to be able to have trust in the product that you're building. So I think for all of us, the community is extremely important because it allows people to really, poke around, play, experiment, ask for features, think of new features, contribute. I think it is an incredible opportunity for so many bright minds who are interested in generative AI at this early of its development, right? We're still really relatively early days of generative AI. So I love that, so many people are coming together to push this forward.
That's awesome. Yes, community is absolutely key. Let's talk about the community you have here in this room. I'm super excited for your projects, and I cannot wait to share the links on the demo of your demos so that folks can take a look. And if you're building something and one of the solutions is the solution for you, use it and contribute back. But I'd like to learn a little bit more, let's say, from you first, please, kind sir. The experience with the GitHub Accelerator. What made you apply, right? What made you apply? And then just high level, overall, the sense of community here. What's been your experience thus far?
Yeah, what made me apply? I think I got an email from Kevin, who co-ran the accelerator, asking me to apply. I checked it out, seemed interesting, and the idea that there was a cohort, and that sort of, okay, cool projects. Typically, if you're, it was promised that you'd join a group of builders who are all working on the cutting edge of AI, and the whole sort of ethos of open source is building tools together, and so this was a summer of doing that, so that made me interested in applying, and I think the best thing that came out of it was meeting everyone in this room and then other folks who were upstairs somewhere. So basically what was promised, being part of a community of builders, and that's something I really enjoyed.
That's amazing. Michael, out of all the things that you experienced through the cohort, I heard from one of the participants earlier about it was intense. It was an intense period of time, of course, because it's a limited time that you have. And I'm sure they squeezed as much as they could. Out of all the experiences, what's the one that you take, that was the key moment where, I don't know if it shifted your thinking about maybe one way you were approaching the problem or just something that maybe kind of clicked?
Yeah, the program was really intense. I think we had 7 sessions every week.
That is a lot.
Yeah. But one of the things that really clicked was sustainable funding. Building an open source, you're relying on developers, you're relying on nonprofits, you're relying on many different ways to fund your project. So one of the most important lessons I took away was how to fund your project sustainably, whether it's maybe building another enterprise product on top of the open source product that you can sell while that funds the open source project. And I think that's my biggest lesson, learning how to bring sustainable funding to open source projects.
Yes, that's Kevin's bread and butter, and he has so much depth of knowledge on that. So I'm so glad that you were able to incorporate that on your business plans. That's amazing. What about you, Tim? What's one lesson that I needed to hear that?
Right. No, just being surrounded by these builders and just that on itself was a tremendous, amazing experience for me. And I just want to give a shout out to Greg and Kevin because they've been so helpful in terms of sustainable funding and everything really. Just maintaining just creating this community of builders and everything. It's just been wonderful, really.
That's awesome. So it sounds everybody a positive experience. Namee?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Aside from everything that everybody else said, also just for me it was the opportunity to learn about we were nominated as the top AI projects in the open source ecosystem. We applied, sure, but they had to select us. So almost getting the first-hand experience of all of us developing real time and growing together as it was happening, these amazingly talented other people in my cohort. I think that was an incredible honor and privilege for me to get a front row seat into what everybody else was doing too. So we all learned and grew from each other. So that was amazing as well.
That is so special. I love that. I love how the nomination and how that works because you get the best of the best, right? So that's really cool.
Yeah. I only applied because I got to give a shout out to, there's a YouTube channel called AI Anytime. And he actually has a community and he literally just called me out, said, Namee Oberst of LLMWare, you should apply to this. I didn't even know what this was.
Do you know this person?
No, I knew him because he was a fan of our project and he had featured us in one of his YouTube videos. I was, what is this? And it was literally the day before it closed.
No way.
And I thought there was no way I was going to get anything like this. I literally just filled out the application as I was on a different call even because I'm not going to get this. So I just kind of filled out the form. But had he not called me out and challenged me in a way to apply, I never would have applied because I wouldn't have thought that I qualified.
I love that. That brings such a good point for all of you who are watching and maybe you're thinking, I have the idea, but I'm not sure. Or maybe, I don't meet all the criteria. Well, have you? Like, you got to go for it. That is amazing. Good for that. Actually, what about you? Is there a particular lesson that you take from the program itself that you think, maybe I started thinking about my business plan or the way I approach the project a bit different?
I think resource and time management, even something I was talking with Greg and Kevin about today, as developers of open source projects, there's, so many things to do, whether it's building the core product, engaging with the community, and road mapping future directions. So I think just thinking intentionally, every day, how are you going to spend your time? And what can you do to not just move the project forward, but to empower your community to help you move the project forward. And I think especially that latter part, having that sort of relationship with the community and having them lift other members of the community up. I think the focus on that was sort of eye-opening to me and really rewarding.
That's awesome. Yeah, you have to be very intentional about that, right?
Definitely not.
So have you noticed a growth in the community since you maybe adjusted that strategy of community management in a way?
Yes, definitely. And it's been very humbling to see so many people step up. We've gotten now, we very intentionally solicit feedback, but also tell people, hey, if you have an idea or there's an issue, raise it. But also we welcome contributions. You don't have to be an expert to contribute. And now we have over 50 external contributors total. Oh. And also we have community managers sort of organically arising in our Discord who are doing such great work in spreading Marimo and thinking of integrations that Miles and I, the other co-maintainer, just never would have thought of. So it's certainly been paying dividends.
I want to ask you, Michael, starting with you, what's next for your project? What are you looking forward to the upcoming months now that you are not in the midst of the 11-week intense program?
I think what I'm looking forward to the most is building the enterprise piece of our open source project. A lot of our early use cases evolved around training LLMs for loan applications. And so we've decided to build an enterprise platform around that. Hopefully that would bring enough sustainable funding to the open source project.
That's a great vision forward, and I wish you nothing but the absolute best.
Thank you.
Folks, you gotta check out all these projects. Again, I'm going to have every single demo listed on the notes, and homework, please go. And then also go to the repos and leave a star. Get involved with the communities if it's something that's interesting to you. Tim, what about you?
We're still hoping to grow our community. We basically want more users so that we can all come together and build better AI models, really. It doesn't even have to be fine-tuning models. It could just be optimizing prompts or anything you can think of in terms of generative AI. We, as together, are much stronger than us individually. So, we're hoping to grow our community. We're hoping to ship out a lot more features and, just building more.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Namee?
So similarly to Michael, we've developed our enterprise offering. So it's actually in private preview right now.
Nice.
And it's a client agent that'll sit on your Intel PCs to basically in a minute start to run small language models directly on device privately and no code, just point and click. And it'll start to run RAG, contract analysis, natural language SQL queries, table extraction, a whole host of other things, and have access to 100 plus models. So that's what we're working on right now.
That's very exciting. I can see of so many applications for that. Beyond, right, having the tight security and it being local regulated and all that is great, but I need that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to try all your projects, honestly. They sound absolutely amazing. Actually, how about you? Do you have anything that this is coming up and I'm looking forward to that?
Community growth is actually a really big one for us too. Both in more users, but also in more integrations with other projects. I mentioned earlier, when a project is integrated with Marimo, it gets some sort of superpowers because of the reactivity. So we recently had tighter integrations with Polars, the data frame library. I mentioned the charting library integrations. We added actually a cool new component for chatbots, so you can prototype your own custom chatbot using whatever model you can use, a commercial model, but you can also use any local model. I'm curious to see what kinds of things the community will build with that. And then another focus of ours that actually we're both really passionate about is education. So some of our users, Marimo was actually used at a research lab associated with Stanford this past summer by a bunch of undergraduates, some of whom had never coded Python before. And some of the feedback we got was that Marimo, because you get that instant feedback, it actually made coding fun and not intimidating.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so now I think we have 7 professors scattered throughout, I guess, the world, who have at least told us that they're using Marimo for things like introductory Python, intro to databases, and things like that. So I'm really excited to see that happen more, and also to develop features that empower these educators to more effectively.
This has been such a good conversation. I super appreciate all of you taking the time to come by here and just quickly share your projects. I want to ask you one more question each. It's going to be a rapid fire thing. I'll point at you and you answer. If you had to describe your experience at GitHub Universe in one word, what would it be? Michael.
Lean in.
Hey, what is it?
Lean in.
Lean in. Okay. Yeah. I'll allow it. All right. What about you, Namee?
Spectacular.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
And Tim?
Amazing.
All good.
Yay.
All good. It would have been extremely awkward if they had not been good. Thank you so much. Finally, where can people follow you? Obviously, I'm going to share all the links to all the repos and all the projects, but are you in any one of those social things, and do you want people to find you there?
Yeah, you can find my company, Marimo, and myself on Twitter, also on LinkedIn. Definitely check out our repo on GitHub. But yeah, Twitter, LinkedIn.
Okay. What about you, Michael?
Yep, you can find me on LinkedIn. Pretty active on LinkedIn. Type in Michael Vandi. I'm going to be the first name that pops up. Check out our repo. And also check out our enterprise product. It's called Addy AI.
Nice. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, we're on Twitter, and it's at OpenWebUI.
Perfect. And what about you, Namee?
I'm on LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel. We have
You do?
Discord.
Very
Yep.
cool.
So please come check it out. LLMWare.
All right, very cool. Well, folks, you have homework. You gotta go check out these projects, subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if any of these projects sound interesting to you and you're looking to get in a community with a project that's fantastic early on and you can really be impactful, right? It is such a special stage to join a project like yours. Go ahead and join. Join the resources, join the Discord. It sounds all of you really care about community and really see the value on those contributions. So I think it'll be good for anyone who's interested. So thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate you all so much.
Thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
Andrea.